On the long drive back from the park, there were moments of conversation and of quiet, of reminiscing about the past and imaginations of the future. Of course, the now upcoming move was a major source of discussion. Yeah, let's announce it to everyone. Why not? I'm sure they're going to be very happy for you guys. They don't need to know all the details just yet. You guys will figure it out later. The decision had been made, so there was no reason to hide it. Sitting in the passenger seat over those hours, you sometimes felt as if you hadn't left that Ferris wheel cabin in the sky. The atmosphere of Derek's car had a similar way about it that made you feel disconnected from the rest of the world. No one else could reach you or him, and you could say anything there. But there was a major difference. The peace and comfortable stasis was only an illusion. You weren't on a slow, unchanging path of that park ride. Derek was speeding down a California highway in a race against time. There was a party at the end of the road, and Derek was never one to be late. Nor I. When he finally pulled in the apartment complex's parking lot, the car went silent, its leg of the relay was over, and the frantic whir and rush had to be carried on with your own flesh and bones. Not a moment was wasted snatching up the few belongings you'd brought along and booking it towards the building. You passed no one in the halls. Derek had his key in hand already prepared to unlock the door, and when that was swung open, you saw the living room you'd grown so accustomed to empty. The space was untouched since you left early that morning, at least as far as you could remember. But Derek didn't celebrate an early victory. He put a finger to his lips and made a show of checking behind the couch and around the kitchen counter, just to make certain his family hadn't used their spare keys to prepare another surprise. You trailed behind Derek step for step as he dramatically skulked about his own house. He'd check around a corner, and you tried to get a look over his broad shoulders to see, too. That would probably be impossible with how short I am. Nicholas and Liz could absolutely not be trusted. If they came by the apartment and found you and Derek gone, they would almost certainly play the same joke twice. However, they hadn't gotten that chance. Derek stood tall and concluded his inspection with that revelation.
We've done it. No one is here. We spent the whole day out and still beat them.
With a cheer, he fully relished the victory now that it was truly assured.
Man.
Boardwalk, finally telling Molly what I actually felt, being on time, and getting to see the family before the day's over. Things really are all going my way, huh? It's perfect.
Derek saying the day was perfect made it so for you too. After a lifetime of compromises and sacrifices, you were proud to see him get exactly what he wanted. And it was more than a little thrilling that a significant part of what he wanted was you, though. Derek Day should be a national holiday. Yes. Derek Day should be a national holiday.
Thank you.
Aw, you deserve it. His voice was gentle and his gaze soft with affection. Actually, I wouldn't mind celebrating this as an anniversary of sorts down the road, you know? I think that'd be pretty cool. But as Derek came nearer to you, the warmth shot up to sultry. This is a problem. Your family's coming soon, though. What am I supposed to do about the sultry? With a single spark, it would burst.
You're seriously great.
No rose-colored glasses for you, eh?
Sure, it's only been a few hours, but you're a great girlfriend, I hope you know.
You couldn't look away from his fixed gaze, but became incredibly aware of his fingers trailing down your arm. Liz had been so certain none of the Suarez men could woo anyone. She would have had to eat those words if she ever saw Derek truly put his mind to it. Oh, there's nothing else that'd be good? I wonder when everyone's gonna get here. Alright, we're gonna match the sultry. Here we go. Yes, good. Let's get interrupted horribly. Are you certain it's perfect? There's nothing else that'd be good? It was only fair to flirt back a little with how strong he was coming on. Yet the reply made his lips quirk. He doubted his ears and nearly lost his composure. What he didn't do was quit. He didn't tell himself or you he was wrong or there was a mistake either. Instead, Derek held up his coy smile with the confidence he'd managed to store away for emergencies and indulged in further romantic pursuits.
Well,
Honestly, right now, all I really want is to be alone with you.
Once again, he closed in on you, this time until you were near enough that your noses almost touched.
It's pretty convenient. We've got the place to ourselves for a minute, huh?
Does this mean I can finally see your bedroom? Oh my god. I'm so torn between very convenient and this. That one's great. In the moment though, I would probably be the top one. Very convenient. Derek had played it very cool, but in that instant he lit right up, aglow from head to toe. He threaded his fingers through yours and gripped tight. The hand was steady and hot. There wasn't a trace of pre-game jitters, only excitement.
Okay, but before anything else, maybe I should wipe this shooting star off my face.
You snorted a laugh like you were your mom. That was not exactly a romantic thing to bring up now, however, it was fittingly practical and Derek-esque. No, leave it, it's cute.
what?
Really?
Really.
Huh. If you say so. And you're keeping the whiskers and a painted nose, I'm betting?
Yes.
In that case, as we were.
You gotta nuzzle my cat nose, okay? If you can't do that, this relationship can't last, okay? He slipped both his arms under yours, wrapping you up in him. Yes, that. Bundle of nerves. Sliding a hand down to the bottom of your spine, Derek kept you steady as he led both of you onto the edge of his couch. He sat comfortably on the cushion, and you were straddling his lap. My, this did get, interesting. Neither of you had any plans of untangling from each other. The position on your knees gave an unusual vantage point. You were the one looking down on him for once in your life. Oh my god, the game heard me being like, I couldn't see past his broad shoulders because I'm short. Like, yeah, you are. Derek glanced up at you through lidded eyes. A coy smile played about his face. He might have jokingly protested others eclipsing his height in the past, but he definitely wasn't complaining about the current arrangement. It suited him exactly right.
After you? Or would I go first?
Your shaking fingers grasped at his shirt. Your face felt a million degrees. He was polite even then, but it was killing you. I really like this one. Isn't getting on top of you already a first move?
Whoa, you got me there. That was without a doubt a move. Then allow me.
He cradled your head with one hand, still keeping the other on your lower back. You moved with him, easing lower until your faces could meet. He kissed you, tentative but lingering. He was making sure it was right, that it was real. You were smiling at each other when it ended. There was no mistake here, only two people whose once sung the same song. Whoa! Whoa, I was not ready for the spicing that is happening. Let's just go with the kiss again and pretend that bottom option isn't there for now. Once again, your mouth locked around his. Derek tilted himself towards your touch, kissing you in return. He squeezed your thigh. You raked your hands through his short hair. Regardless of how spiky it always looked, his strands were nothing but silky soft against your fingers. The intensity deepened. You pressed and pulled your lips against each other in a much longer, much more longing kiss. You'd imagined there were even better kisses to come than the one in the Ferris wheel, but you were pleasantly surprised to have it happen so soon. You gasped for breath when you and him finally broke apart. Derek could only speak in a hoarse whisper. Thanks.
You're really great.
You chuckled against his skin. Derek's vocabulary for praise rarely extended past words he could say to any guy, gal, or pal, but it was only with you when his voice was so heart-achingly adoring. I see that option is still there, although it has moved up. Let's go to the, let's do the... How much time do we have? How much time do we got? I feel like there's a time limit here, but, Alright, we're going under the hoodie. You managed to get around the fold of Derek's thick sleeveless hoodie, but before you even grazed the body underneath, Derek was leaning away. I'm sorry. Are you alright?
Forget it.
No, wait, yes? I'm sorry. It's all good. I was just thinking I could help you with that if you want.
He took hold of his own signature red top and lifted it enough to expose a thin line of skin. He stopped there to check your expression. Oh. How about you let me help you help me? Yeah, how about you let me help you help me?
Yeah.
Perfect.
You both intently tugged at Derek's unnecessary bit of fabric. You got it over his head and he lobbed the shirt past you onto the floor.
There we go.
Perfect. Perfect. Derek rested against the back of the couch, totally satisfied and leaving his front fully exposed. He held no shyness going shirtless in front of you. In fact, you were positive he'd been aching for a chance to do exactly that. It would have been improper to draw attention to himself at the public water park. This was his comeback.
As you were.
Not yet. He got the picture immediately. Words were not an option in the moment. However, he rallied to your aid as you had done for him. Thank you, my good sir. You twisted and shimmied in Derek's lap in your effort to undress. But Derek was determined and had a much better angle to access the dress. Together, you managed to slip out of it. I can't believe this is happening. I'm like, whoa! Derek let it limply fall to the ground. He remained speechless. Now that's everything. You resumed the original plan and freely explored Derek's abs and pecs and everything else he had put out on a silver platter for you. Meanwhile, Derek's focus had zeroed in on your own chest. He wasn't forcing his eyes away like when you wore a swimsuit. Ogling was allowed, and Derek learned there were even better possibilities out there than getting to show off himself.
I swear.
It's like, this is the best day ever. This is so good.
Damn. This is Derek's day.
Okay, look, I need to do this. I need to save in this moment because I'm worried we're gonna run out of time, but I kind of also just wanna, like, go down the list, too. But if Nicholas, like, pops in here, I'm gonna lose my mind. Playfully, you trailed tiny kisses down his neck and continued all the way to the end of his broad shoulder. You had plenty of real estate available to you, after all. Derek enjoyed your indulgence as much as you did. Even more, a little too much. You were both so distracted, neither of you realized what was coming when he dropped his head in a happy sigh until his chin squished you into his shoulder blade. Oop!
I'm sorry.
He snapped right back up, but still pulled you off of him to check your state.
Are you okay?
You lovingly bit into his neck. Yeah.
That's good.
Sorry.
I kinda ruined the mood, huh?
You answered by planting the biggest smooch yet into his sensitive neck.
Aww.
Yeah?
Are you sure?
So you're really alright?
Yes, I really mean it. Derek squeezed you tight in a hug, careful with where his face went, and laughed wholeheartedly. You embraced him in return, overflowing with affection for your excessively considerate boyfriend. Alright, and then the compliment. He is a stud. Nobody makes me happier than you. You pressed a hand to his firm chest as you spoke to express your feelings with more than words.
You mean it?
His reply had the exact amount of "aw, shucks" bashful disbelief it would have if you said it randomly while chilling at the park, despite the fact that you were actually making out in his apartment. Derek really decided to pause while getting hot and heavy to think, wow, Molly likes me, that's amazing. It was extremely cute. It was so cute that the position you were in frankly demanded that. It was too perfect. You came closer until you were up against Derek's bare chest and sunk lower and lower against him. Then you rocked your body into his lap. The loose gym shorts Derek had on slipped around smoothly underneath you. It was almost as if nothing at all was in the way of the sizzling friction. Whoa! We gotta... okay, things are getting hot in here, yo! Derek's breath hitched, and you could feel the jolt that went through him. The shock seemed to genuinely stun Derek into immobility for a second there. You hit a home run with that one. That was the biggest thrill you'd had in you. Weren't sure when, and you'd just gone to an amusement park earlier that day. You needed to relax. Aiming for more of a sit over a straddle, you slid your legs over to the side and twisted on your butt. Derek kept his arms in place around you, which stopped you from falling as you got situated. Thanks. Flushed and content, you rested your cheek against Derek's chest. He was solid muscle from head to toe, but it wasn't an uncomfortable support in the least. Quite the opposite.
You're welcome.
Hey, it's my pleasure.
Derek traced his fingers down the length of your spine. His burning touch had changed to a soothing balm. You welcomed it, snuggling closer. For once, Derek didn't attempt to move right into a new conversation. His hands were full going up and down your back. That was okay with you. In a dreamy haze, you gladly listened to only the sound of his heart and his slow breaths. And then the doorbell rang.
Oh.
Derek blinked wide, bleary eyes. That was definitely the door's buzzer, but you could have fooled him into thinking it was an alarm clock waking him from a fantasy.
This sucks.
Man, it's been, what, 5 minutes since we were preparing? And I already lost track of the party thing and that we were expecting guests. Well, this time I can forgive myself for the slip-up. That was a hell of a distraction.
Boo! I forgot we even had families the second you started flirting. Derek let out a bark of laughter, throwing his head back before promptly burying his face against you. He mumbled through a grin into the nape of your neck. Each word had his lips drag against your skin.
Is it too late to cancel?
Even though he was joking, it was still tempting. For both of you. But it couldn't be done. Mustering his years of experience being the responsible one, Derek hefted you and him onto your feet. It was time to go. How do we face guests at a time like this? You hunted down your abandoned clothes and put them back on. Mercifully, they still looked presentable enough despite what you'd done to them. With a refreshed pep in your steps, you and Derek approached the entryway. But the expectant smile that had been on Derek's face evened out into a bemused line. His brain was working, and then his mouth dropped open in a terrible realization.
Wait,
Didn't I invite them over for dinner? We don't have time to make food. We could set out snacks, but what kind of dinner party is that? I said that so we'd have as much time as possible at the park. I wasn't considering that meant we'd actually need a dinner. Shoot. We don't even have enough food in the house for how many people are coming.
We can make this work.
Yeah, exactly. It's fine. I've got an idea.
Pizza? Yes! Thank you! Yes! In a bind, always get pizza.
We're gonna get takeout. How about pizza? And the other stuff places like that have salad, wings, and so on.
Yeah!
awesome.
Cool.
He held out a satisfied thumbs up.
Now we better actually answer the door.
He stuck a finger forward in demonstration of where he was headed, then strolled over. But his hand froze on the doorknob.
Oh damn.
Then he flung it up to slap across his face.
Man,
The paint. The family can't see this.
Oh, duh. Keeping it was not the best idea. The boardwalk trip was meant to be a secret, and Derek nearly strolled along to greet his or your family with a sparkling shooting star blazoned across one cheek. I have a cat nose and whiskers. And you weren't any better with the whiskers and a painted nose across your face.
I can't believe I almost missed it, even though I had already caught that. Is there anything else I forgot today?
I love that they're being so patient and haven't buzzed again in this entire time. Maybe I might have forgotten too.
Fair.
Derek was thinking fast then. He left the door closed, but shouted through to the other side.
Be there in a minute. Okay.
You could make out Mr. Suarez's voice resonating through the wall, so it was Derek's family who'd come first. Derek soundlessly sidestepped away from the entrance. Tiptoeing over the carpet until he was certain he wouldn't be overheard, he whispered to you.
Let's go. We don't want them to see something they shouldn't.
That was spoken like a true criminal. He bolted from the living room, counting on you to follow. You did. Derek went to the master bathroom and you the guest one. You twisted the sink on and assaulted the whiskers and a painted nose with hot water and a pale yellow hand towel until it was erased from existence. You wiped down the area as best you could, then threw the towel into the cabinet under the sink to keep it away from prying eyes. It was stained all over, the only evidence of your and Derek's deed. With the job done, you hastily returned to the living room. Derek came up right behind you. At the threshold, he bent over, leaning against his knees, and settled his heavy breathing. Then Derek bounded back up and finally answered the door, seeming as upbeat and unflappable as ever.
hey,
Welcome!
It was such a dramatic and complete recovery, you had to wonder if it was a trained skill. There might have been many days where Derek frantically put out fires and his own fluster before presenting himself before you with a big smile. Hey, welcome family.
Thank you.
The whole Suarez family was there, crowding the narrow space with smiles on their faces. Your own family member did not have the same kind of cheer. Her lips were curved. They were here first. You took so long answering, I found them standing around waiting.
Sorry about that.
Liz, you know nothing.
Yeah.
What was that about?
it's
Well,
The real secret of the day was your outing at the boardwalk, but a deep red over his cheeks exposed that it was a different tryst that came to Derek's mind.
Molly and I were just going over the game plan.
so.
Oh, what is the plan? We're gonna get pizza, my treat.
Woo!
Yay!
Thank you, my wonderful son.
That's very thoughtful of you. Works for me. Derek's last-minute solution had gotten full marks. Speaking with the self-satisfaction of a man who winged a final exam and still passed, Derek pretended this had gone as he'd intended all
I
along.
figured.
I thought you might feel that way about it. Let's not order until everyone is here. Molly says Mrs. and Mrs. Waverider and Mr. Holden are gonna show up soon.
Murmurs of understanding circulated as the group filed into the apartment. Derek took on the role of host with vigor and encouraged his guests to get comfortable. They accepted the hospitality and seats were taken all around. Well, how has your day been?
Yeah, what were you up to?
Mrs. Suarez's entirely pleasant tone was followed up by the openly nosy inquiry from Nicolas. However, neither had forgotten the curious holdup at the door.
We had a great afternoon and talked about some very important things. Isn't that right, Molly?
As usual, when he ended up in awkward positions, Derek took the strategy of technically not lying, but leaving out crucial details. Right. That's nice. Mrs. Suarez didn't mind not getting the real answer that she knew existed. She always did. Nicolas shrugged. He wanted more, but was mature enough not to demand it. Amazing. Oh, excuse me. Soon, another sharp ring of the doorbell came. You and your sister perked up the most at that sound. It had to be your parents. Liz disregarded the fact that this was not her apartment and headed straight over to answer the door. You headed that way with her. Hey, everybody! Liz tugged the handle, and there on the other side were the soft faces of your sweet mothers and the more sharply featured, but no less kind, Mr. Holden. Many hellos and good to see yous were said in succession as the Waverider family joined with the Suarez clan in Derek's living room.
It is a real party now. Not yet. There's still one thing missing. Let's talk toppings.
Derek took a page out of his mother's book and offered an explanation to the newcomers who had to have wondered.
What do you think?
We're getting pizza if that's cool with you.
Yum. That is fine, sweetie. No complaints here.
Nice.
Perfect. With this size of a crowd, I'd say we should get 3 large pizzas.
A friendly round of suggestions and debates over the most ideal topping splits commenced. More than one person wanted meat and veggie supreme. The Suarez parents both loved that one, and it had grown on their sons as they grew. Most agreed that having at least a couple simple options made sense, and Derek declared he'd get his favorite, chicken barbecue, since he was the one making the order and couldn't be stopped. Yay! Derek's day! No one else in the group had any intention of ruining that for Derek. It was incredible to see him decide on something purely for himself. Agreed. I'm like, man, you love to see it. That's how the plan of 1 full meat and veggie supreme pizza, a half cheese, half pepperoni pizza, and half a pizza of chicken barbecue was determined. I mean, all of that sounds great. I'll leave the last half up to the rest of the group. How about Alfredo for the last half? No objection surfaced. And? Yeah, let's get something besides pizza as well, I think. We should get a salad. Some garlic bread, definitely. And some wings. Yeah, let's do that. Liz teased you openly in front of all the parents for making good use of this being Derek's treat. And Nicolas of all people felt self-assured enough to joke about you being a spoiled youngest kid. That was hilarious, coming from him. Though, the most impactful blow you got came from Derek himself when he gladly owned up to the idea that he'd spoil you when you wanted him to. And to top it all off, Nico and Jorge were both emboldened by your special request. Each of the younger Suarez boys asked their big brother for a soda, root beer for Jorge and orange for Nicolas. Derek gladly accepted the request. After it was all said and done, Derek made the call to the local pizza place. He had it arranged for delivery. He glanced over the attendees once he finished that task.
Oh yeah.
We've got some time to kill. Can I get anybody a drink? That goes for you two already getting something too. You don't have to wait to hydrate.
What a kind host. Some requests were made for water, and seats were taken to settle in for the wait. You got comfortable on a couch yourself. Derek collected 2 armfuls of water bottles. He went around the room passing drinks out to each person, even those who didn't ask for one. It seemed staying refreshed was not an option after all, it was an order. You and the others near the coffee table got served first, then you went around the dining table to catch the ones hanging out there. He was busy and in another section of the apartment. That's what you knew from the last time you'd caught sight of Derek from your position. And that's why a jolt went through your entire body when a low voice tickled your ear.
Molly.
You creakily turned your rigid neck to glimpse behind you. Derek was there, resting on his arms across the top edge of the couch. He had swung back around to you while you weren't looking. As he processed the situation, Derek grinned cheerily, unapologetic about the shock his move gave you. A soft thump-thump could be heard in the air. It wasn't your heart, though it might have been. You guessed on the other side of that couch he was tapping his heels together.
So?
I just wanted to ask if we were keeping us a secret.
He didn't have to tell you what that meant. No, we shouldn't, and this would be a good chance to talk about it. Our families are both here. Besides, they can tell something is going on already, considering the cozy position you've taken and the secret conversation we're having right in front of them.
Good point.
He pushed off the couch to his full height, though continued to grip the off-white fabric backside of his couch.
Well...
A new patting sound could be heard. Derek needed an outlet for his building excitement and found it through drumming his fingers against the cushion.
While we're all together, Molly and I have got to tell you all something. Oh, you're in a relationship.
Really?
Dad?
Is that wrong?
What? Were we not aware of what Derek felt about Molly?
They're like, let him say it. He's like, well, what? Mrs. Suarez groaned loudly and hid her face in the palms of her hands. Jorge put his hands on his hips, giving his dad a hard look. Derek looks mortified. Your own parents were too sympathetic to their child's predicament to comment or laugh, though they were clearly dying to.
Maybe, maybe not. We have no idea. Don't steal their thunder before they've said anything.
He's right, Gregorio. Let them talk. Mr. Suarez stroked his beard thoughtfully.
Oh, sorry, kids.
Go on.
Derek, please keep going. What did you want to say?
Okay.
Yes, forget I said a word. My lips are sealed.
Derek shot you a look that was both apologetic and encouraging. He turned back to the waiting eyes of his family and scratched his cheek. We are, you know, what Mr. Suarez said. I'm gonna go take your hand. Derek started, but when his brain caught up to what you were doing, his palm slid perfectly into place with yours. You watched his expression grow more confident. He was ready.
You've got it.
We're dating.
The soft way he confirmed that made your heart flutter in your chest.
I'm more than happy to say it, even though someone else beat me to the punch.
The parents were instantly elated by that news. Mrs. Suarez started clapping and knocked a shoulder into her husband's side.
Very good.
I hoped that was gonna be the news.
This is amazing, and quite a surprise, too.
Uh-huh. Mom bent forward with a chuckle and loudly snorted.
What happens?
I thought this might happen ever since Molly invited him to that soiree, remember? Ma hummed nostalgically. She reached over and threaded her fingers together with Mom's.
Yes.
Derek has always been quite the gentleman. Molly is an excellent kid, and I know for a fact that Derek is a great guy. I'm sure things are gonna work out for you two.
Jorge slowly shook his head off to the side. His crooked smile grew.
That makes sense.
You two together. I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
This means everything to me.
I haven't heard Nicolas comment on this. I'm officially Team Suarez now. Sorry, family. Derek's on Team Wave Rider now. Sorry. This, though, very much. I'm glad my boyfriend comes with good in-laws. Placing a hand over her heart, Mrs. Suarez glanced at her husband. He matched her tender smile.
We're grateful to have you. We couldn't have dreamed of someone better suited for our Derek.
Derek rubbed the back of his neck out of embarrassment, but you caught him peeking at you still. You wondered how you'd won the romance lottery. A bold as brass smirk hadn't left Liz's face, as to be expected from your big sister. Well, props to you, Suarez, coming up from behind. I thought you'd lost your painfully long moment when you never said anything about crushing on Molly for several years and then moved away. Her jab hit the mark, making Derek shudder one eye. His characteristic grin survived the strike.
I know.
I fumbled it more than once, I can admit that. But I did it now, and a win is a win.
All right.
Wow, more props. Liz couldn't completely remove the wryness that was natural to her face, but when she looked at you again, her eyes were soft. I'm also happy for you, both of you. I cannot possibly imagine how romancing Mr. Let Me Do That for you over here could blow up in your face. Liz's encouragement was a huge deal to you, but the moment wasn't complete. Nicholas had been the only one in the crowd with nothing to say for the entire event. That was strikingly uncharacteristic for the wild child. And his face was neutral. That absence of happiness worried you as much as sadness or anger would have. Maybe more. Nicholas simply not caring seemed worse than him being upset. But you didn't need to doubt for long. In the end, he smiled. The look wasn't forced or for manners' sake. It reached his deep brown eyes. Nico's story about the night of the summer soiree came back to you. He knew what was coming and prepared himself for this exact moment. Now that it was here, he was happy for Derek and for you. You were so grateful. Your whole family, Suarez, Wave Rider, and Holden, could agree that you and Derek ought to be happy and that you should be happy together.
And
Derek was flushed with confidence after how well received the announcement was. He was invincible. There was nothing to fear, so he steamrolled ahead.
there's actually more major news.
At that point, he cut himself off. As excited as he was, Derek managed to hold his tongue and send a searching glance your way before saying any more. It was understandable why Derek was so pumped. You'd been busy and had 2 life-changing decisions made in a single afternoon away. Your loved ones heard about your relationship. Next, they'd need to learn about the move. Go on! He turned to the crowd with every eye on him. Derek came right out with it.
Molly and I realized things have been great the way they are, and decided that she should move in here for keeps. We're gonna be roomies.
The crowd gasped, then went quiet, but not for lack of feeling. Emotion was palpable, bubbling inside a shell of self-restraint. The first to express the thoughts of the majority was Ma.
You know we wouldn't want you to live your lives for our sakes, but I have to admit that I'm so glad you're going to be that close. Agreed. There's no denying that this is exciting. Hey, we're practically neighbors again. That's good with me.
Mrs. Suarez and Mr. Suarez shared similar sentiments as your parents, and so did their sons.
That's great.
It's a smart plan for you two, I think, and it's made a lot of other people happy. Hooray! Very nice. I don't mind having you around more.
He doesn't mind. He was trying to act like a grown-up, but that gracious statement didn't do much to hide the thrill coming out of his every pore.
Yeah.
This is great. There's so many things we weren't able to do on this trip, and now we'll be able to anytime.
Nicolas played down his true feelings while Jorge wore them openly. The oldest brother had to chuckle over the reversal. It was amazing and relieving to be welcomed home. You were more certain of your choice than ever. Yay! The wholesomeness of the moment wouldn't have been complete if it was only sweet. Liz cut in with a dose of snark that made the taste perfectly right.
Seriously?
Sheesh! After 10 years of no progress, you're going at light speed now. And she wasn't wrong. You thought the exact same thing.
Well, we were just storing up all our momentum for the right time. Now we got the means to move full speed ahead.
Laughter and lighthearted conversation continued within the walls of that apartment. Everyone was ready to pitch in with the move and had suggestions to offer. And then everything was put on hold when, for the third time, the doorbell rang.
Dinner's here!
Nicholas made a beeline to the door, his two older brothers at his heels. They gathered all the spoils from the delivery driver, gave a polite thanks, and promptly closed the apartment up again. Jorge and Nicholas peered into the semi-opaque lids to figure out which drink was theirs, and Derek specifically handed you the stuff you got for yourself. The feast was laid out on the counter, savory, steamy, and very cheesy. Derek stood between the guests and the meal to make a declaration.
All right.
Everyone in my house, instead of the youngest going first, the oldest do.
Good.
Ah yes, respect our elders.
How kind.
That's...
I can't believe I'm considered an elder. How'd I get so old?
Mom and Ma offered comfort and condolences. They'd been members of that club for many a year. All the grown-ups filed through as a big group. At that point in their lives, determining who was truly the oldest of the old wasn't worth the trouble. When they'd picked over the cream of the crop, Liz made a clean sweep all on her own. You and Derek went together next, followed by Jorge. Finally, Nicholas's turn came. His mouth was hooked in an amused bend. Being last was a novelty, and he took his sweet time picking out the slices he wanted. Why not? He wasn't holding anyone up. Eventually, Nicholas selected his dinner, and the chairs around the apartment were filled with happy guests whose plates were equally full. It was a relief to see your and Derek's big announcement hadn't impacted anyone's appetite. Good food and pleasant conversation were enjoyed at Casa Derek. Nico went back to the boxes for seconds and thirds without needing anyone's permission. After eating, Jorge moved from the table to chat with Liz away from the parents. Nicholas abandoned the last bites of his 5th piece of pizza to scurry after his big brother. Derek stuck next to you as a rule, but there were cases when an exception was needed.
Well, this is your party, and Liz's, sort of. I won't hog you. You should get to see everyone who's here to see you. I'll be around.
It was true. The two families had gathered for you and your sister on the final day of your trips. On your end, the event had turned into more of a welcome party than a farewell, but Liz was still leaving, and you didn't know for sure when you would be able to actually move. The time you had right now wasn't to be missed. Yeah, I will. Thanks. Derek took a step back with a nod and a wave. He at least was someone you'd certainly see again soon. I'm probably gonna go check on my mom's Mr. Holden first. Then the other parents, and then the kids. Your parents remained at the dinner table, sipping on their water bottles and pretending to be nonchalant. They sent too many fervent glances between you and Liz to be convincing.
Hello, sweetie.
Hey.
Welcome over.
How are you?
What's happening?
Hi, I just wanted to see how you were doing.
We're great.
How sweet.
Aw, we've been having a wonderful time. I know this trip was for you and Derek, but I'm still grateful Pam and I could be here a little.
Ma wrapped an arm around Mom with a light chuckle. Mom leaned her head gently into her wife and they both beamed.
Time together is more important than time apart. Every bit counts. Well said.
I'm so glad I'll be coming back.
Aw.
Me too, kiddo. Absolutely.
Mom brought you into the embrace along with Ma. Your parents held you tight for another minute before letting go. Like Derek before them, they didn't intend to monopolize you forever. You left them to their own amazing company and drifted back towards the front of the living room. Alright, other parents. Derek's parents were contently sitting together on the couch, watching. The scene of their children and friends gathered together in one place was a rare joy. But when you approached, Mr. Suarez perked up from his peaceful reverie. He squished against the missus, patting the freed spot on the cushion. Mrs. Suarez had to physically support her husband in the invitation by catching his shoulder, otherwise he would have toppled right over into her lap. She laughed over the dramatic infringement on her personal space. Thanks. Don't mind if I do. After all the effort they took in order to make that available, you couldn't reject the hospitality. You popped down onto the pre-warmed cushion. Mrs. Suarez looked past the man draped over her as if he was not currently attached at the hip and made eye contact with you.
I hope you've enjoyed your big city vacation, Molly.
I definitely did.
Glad to hear it.
As the pleasantries faded off, the Suarez spouses shared a meaningful glance with each other. The weight of the occasion hadn't been forgotten.
Well, while we've got you here, there's something I want to say. Did you know Gregorio and I met at a similar age as you and Derek? Technically.
That's true.
Mrs. Suarez patted her husband's leg unconsciously while the gleam of a storyteller sparkled in her eyes. Yes, tell me how you two met.
We attended the same high school at, 14 or so, though we never landed on the other's radar until senior year. He and I shared a class here and there. We did not run in the same social circles or have similar extracurricular pursuits.
I almost missed her. Can you believe that? I cannot. What would I have done with my life then?
Sometimes I wonder. Perhaps you'd be living in a mansion somewhere in the hills.
Well then.
Is that so? It is a worse fate than I feared.
The longtime couple tittered and smiled rosily over one another. Meanwhile, you leaned in closer, ears perked. The topic intrigued you. How had Derek's parents come together? You didn't interrupt in order to ask. You knew with certainty that Mrs. Suarez would explain without prompting. And she did.
You see, Molly, Mr. Suarez is a well-meaning man, but when he gets a lot of compliments, he believes them. There's no end to how big his head can get. Derek may have mentioned this to you, but Rio, as he was called in the glory days, was on the football team.
The words football team were said with mocking exaggeration, as though she could stop the explanation there. It was obvious where that was going.
He and all his footballer buddies had quite the egos and were such a clique. One completely random day in the cafeteria, him and his boys were acting like the gods on earth they thought they were. They talked big and it was all crap. I spent my life tuning the whole set out, but that time I must have been sitting closer to the noise than normal or in an unusually petty mood. Whatever the reason, I began to gab with my own friends intentionally loud enough to be overheard. I said with exaggerated, wide-eyed innocence how strange it was that the jocks acted as if they were the greatest men alive. How did they come to such a conclusion when they've seemingly never spoken to a single person outside of their team? What do they know about who's better than anyone else?
Folding her arms and bouncing her shoulders, Mrs. Suarez still felt self-satisfaction over that one decades later.
The team noticed me then, mostly to give the stink eye. Except for one, who I could only describe as befuddled. I continued on, pretending I had no idea what was happening at the next table over. We were having plenty of fun on our side of the crowd until all of my friends went dead quiet. That got me to check again. One of the footballers had come over. He was built like a broad brick, though his face was anything but hardened. Too goofy and almost boyish for that. It was Rio the linebacker, of course. He leaned over the table and said in his low, somehow booming voice, "What do you think of me? Am I not great to you?"
He really said that. Irene and you were suddenly peers, sharing a fluster over the brashness of some strange football man. You snuck a glance at the star of that scene. He was plain as naive as Mrs. Suarez had all those years ago, listening quietly and twiddling his thumbs.
Yes! I couldn't believe it. I wasn't expecting any of them to actually care about my opinion. The obvious thought would be that he was trying to intimidate me, make me take it back, but he asked with so much earnestness I didn't even consider that possibility. I shot out instantly that
I don't like you. I don't know you. But I couldn't say I wouldn't like a man simply because he was on the football team. That's pathetic. Ping-ponging from shock to indignance, the outpouring of emotions reached its peak. Irene could be worked up no longer. She wasn't really a young lady recounting this for the first time. She knew the end of the tale. And despite being grown, it still put a schoolgirl smile on her face. Well, Mr. Suarez here had such a frown when he heard that. Truthfully, Derek looks the exact same way when he feels rejected, so you likely understand the position I was in. Someone so bright and bold with a face like that isn't right. It's as if all the joy in the entire world had vanished. That was too much. I looked him square in the face and said I wouldn't give him the time of day for that, but I might be willing to get to know him sometime because he was decently handsome. Of course, that soothed Rio's delicate soul, and he said, "Then we shall do that! We are people who should know each other." When he grinned down at me, I knew this was more than I bargained for. I'd better prepare. If he didn't forget about me, I wasn't sure I'd ever have it in me to give up on him. But so far, it's never come to that.
And it never will.
Rio had been so quiet the whole story, he simply needed to burst in at the end.
I cannot remember seeing Irene before that day in the lunchroom. Yet as soon as I did see her, I knew I wanted her to think well of me. If she didn't, I must have been doing wrong. I am thankful you approve of me still, even though I sneak our sons extra treats and cheat with their video games. I can't be a bad man if Irene can look past it.
Mr. Suarez hooked a hand again around his wife's. You'd bet the grin he had on in that moment was the same one Irene had originally fallen for. I love your story of meeting. That's so cute. That's right. You are a good man. No buts or qualifiers went along with the praise. She wholeheartedly expressed approval of her husband. You could see it go straight to Mr. Suarez's ego. Irene didn't take it away from him. The sweethearts were completely enamored and absorbed with one another. Yet Mrs. Suarez managed to pull her focus off the stud of her heart to address you again. It had to be serious. Thank you for listening to my self-indulgent story. What I really wanted to tell you is that I believe Derek found someone who appreciated him for who he is. The weight of those words fell over you. She knew what happened with Derek, and she knew that you were with him regardless of what happened with his career trajectory. As his mother, it meant a great deal to her.
Welcome to the family, Molly.
Ooh, I like this one too, though. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna say this. I like that a lot. Honestly, I'm moving here for more than just my own family. I want to be near the whole Suarez family, too.
We are flattered.
Yes.
We are. Hand in hand, the two wonderful people who raised your amazing friends smiled over at you. Boyfriend, you mean? You got to enjoy a little more quality time with Mr. and Mrs. Suarez. Eventually, they requested a moment with their eldest child, likely to share the same sentimental matters with him. That wasn't something you'd stand in the way of, and made room for the two to go have a special parent-to-child chat. Alright, and only one more group to catch up with. Hello, everyone. Jorge, Nicolas, and Liz were gathered in a corner of the room, fully engrossed in conversation. Jorge's hand batted in the air between the group as Nicolas jerked a finger about. Hey, what are you talking about over here? You were welcomed by the circle with friendly smiles. Jorge folded his arms and switched from one explanation to another.
Nicholas was giving something to the effect of a recap to Liz. While talking about the trip, we realized she'd yet to hear about our new interesting acquaintance, so she was being filled in.
Apparently, the Xavier person running some bakery used to paint faces at the boardwalk? Small world, There's no end to the odd connections you end up making with people. Truth.
Yeah.
We were getting philosophical.
Yeah, this. It's almost as weird. Why do I have to keep referencing Baxter? My MC just has Baxter rot on the brain, and I'm here for it. But you know what? I'm gonna leave him to cook a little bit longer, because it's not his turn. Sheesh. Keeps reminding me, like, I'm next, by the way. Hey, hey. Just chill out. Anyway, we also connected with that psychic who knew Shiloh. That was weirder.
Who is Shiloh? I've heard him mentioned, but...
Shiloh is an old dear friend-ish of mine. We don't talk much these days, though. Our paths went in very different directions. Look at that. We're back to sounding so serious. The younger boys stared blank-faced, no more confident in their understanding than they were a minute ago. Your sister was satisfied, snickering into her palm. Besides all that, I have to say, I'm surprised Nicholas was the one who reconnected with Xavier. Wouldn't he struggle to recognize them? You know, considering the fact that he was asleep the entire day.
I fell asleep after I got my face painted, thanks. And I've been to that boardwalk more than once. I didn't conk out every time. Try a better tease.
The dare was meant for Liz. That's what he'd readied himself for and why he spoke with boldness. Oh, the little evil chuckle from Jorge, alright.
Alright.
Unfortunately for Nicholas, however, it was Jorge who took on the challenge. Speaking plainly, with a mischievous twinkle deep in his eyes, you knew it wasn't going to go well for his little brother.
The only reason Xavier was able to recognize you out of any of us is because you're still a little kid, just taller. How's that?
Damn. Nico pouted. That round he had no comeback. However, he did have a new strategy. Nicholas looked to you, his only potential ally, and pleaded like the child he insisted he wasn't. The irony wasn't lost on Nico, and he intentionally played to that.
Molly! These two meanies are ganging up on me!
Leave Nicholas alone, he's a sweet boy. Oh. Dang. It's like a backhanded roast, though. Do I side with the fellow youngest sibling? I really like this option, though. Heck it. It's not Nico's fault he hit on a great style at 6.
Totally.
Right? I'm flawless as is. Molly says so. But she said you've got the same style you did at 6.
And you were complaining about Jorge calling you a kid.
I'll let that one pass.
Yay! Excellent. You, Liz, Jorge, and Nicholas laughed together and continued to chat on the mysteries of life. None of them said this was goodbye, but when the evening wore on and you needed to move away from the sibling group, the see-yous shared between you meant more than usual. You'd worked the room, made your rounds, and had a few minutes to yourself. You used it to think and reflect. There was a lot to consider. Life was barreling forward for you. Unfortunately, no inner peace or full understanding of the universe came while you zoned out in a corner. Perhaps as a consolation, you were rewarded with Derek returning to you after finishing his talk with Mr. and Mrs. Suarez. And he had an idea.
So?
Hey, wanna go out to the balcony? Get some fresh air.
Same as he did when he first parted ways with you, Derek pointedly left the most crucial part of his motivation unsaid. This might be the last time you had a chance to be alone together before you had to go. Yes, or yes. That sounds nice, Derek.
Cool.
You quietly went to the sliding glass panels at one end of the living room. But progress halted. Arms folded, Derek stared at the closed door as an impassable wall. Oh, dang. All right. Cheeky. I like it, though.
Aren't you gonna get that for me?
You strangled a laugh. That was something you should have seen coming. It was what you wanted. Of course Derek would end up letting you have it. You accepted the baton in the form of a door handle and opened it. After you.
Thank you.
Why, thanks, Molly.
Derek passed on by with his head held high. You followed right after. Well played. The event was still alive with small pockets of conversation. You and Derek managed to slip away without notice. As soon as you walked out, a warm evening breeze caressed your body. It carried the sharp scent of the ocean and the delicate perfume of the flowers who made their own home at Derek's place. Derek ignored the one lonely chair on the veranda and rested up against the rail exactly as he did the first time. On the horizon, the sea gleamed like molten gold encasing a city of silver. Yeah, let's lean against the railing too. Out there, he had his spot and you had yours. All was as it should be. The seemingly endless expanse in front of you, with nothing more than a few thin bars between you and it, was a welcome sight. With you both settled in, Derek grinned as if it was any other day. Or rather, because he couldn't help smiling at you no matter the circumstances.
Molly, I owe you an apology, or at least an explanation. No, both.
You blinked. If there was one thing you could count on, it was that Derek Suarez wouldn't do you wrong. Not intentionally, anyway. Huh? About what?
Well, that's obvious. I had asked you to marry me in a way, and I almost didn't realize this was the year it was supposed to happen. How inconsiderate can I get?
The outburst sapped him of all energy. Derek's shoulders slumped and his tone dropped even lower.
It's been a long time.
We'd been apart for a long time. Looks like I was in denial about how long. Days, weeks, months, and years just went by before I even knew it. It couldn't be the deadline already, I thought. No way. Especially with how not grown up I felt and how non-figured out everything was. But it was true. The summer when we were 23 was the year I picked. Is it good or bad timing that this marriage pact plan coincided with my career crisis? I don't know.
The rhetorical question lingered. Then a bit of humor returned to Derek's darkened features.
Actually, I do. It is for the best that it all happened now. We could work the whole mess out in one. Though, that was also part of why I lost sight of things. I don't want you to think it meant nothing because of that.
I swear.
It's not that it didn't matter to me. It mattered so much I couldn't even face it. I had to run away.
Derek almost cracked from the self-imposed pressure. His voice did break.
I mentioned some of it already, but asking you to marry me if there was nobody else wasn't one of those wild, impulsive stunts I pull sometimes. I really thought it through. As in, I thought through all the ways I could maybe be with you without daring to just ask you to be with me.
The truth is,
I hinged a lot of hopes on that plan, but it was wishful thinking to see it as a solution. It doesn't work that way.
His gaze parted from yours. He had nothing in particular to take his attention, so Derek was simply staring straight ahead.
you.
The future is looking bright, Molly. I love this city and my family, but honestly, it really was missing something. Coming back to Prison Vista knowing you were gone already was a blow. That's patched up now. I'm so pumped you're gonna be moving in. I feel like I can get off a treadmill for the first time in over a decade and go somewhere. Possibly on a walk with my girlfriend.
It thrilled you to see Derek bursting with real optimism, not simply wanting and hoping that it would be okay in the face of fears, but having certainty that it would be good. You'd both embrace what was coming next with open arms. Here's to us, Derek.
To us.
His heavy arm wrapped around your shoulders. He curled it in, bringing you closer towards him. Then his lips were on your cheek. Dong. Mwah! Derek pulled away for a moment, intending to once again plant a kiss on the side of your face, but you turned your face to catch his lips instead. He liked that one. Good. Derek leaned into you and rubbed your back lovingly. It was lovely and precious and much too short. Hey, your parents told me the story of how they got together.
Oh yeah.
The lunchroom showdown. Pretty funny, huh? My dad told me he loved to remind the rest of the team how Irene may not like footballers, but she did like him.
They are both very earnest. I don't know what to say here. I like all of these for different... I mean, I don't know. This one I don't like as much. I like this one. You know what? I'm gonna do the bottom one. That is good, but it doesn't beat your marriage pact. It's the height of romantic hijinks. I may have a little bias, admittedly, though.
Thanks. You know, if I ever have a team again, I'll be sure to tell them how Molly liked me before I made it. Or I can tell my future co-workers. Whoever.
Wow, thank you. You and your darling boyfriend exchanged more sweet smooches, cuddly and adoring to a degree that would certainly be embarrassing to outsiders, if there were any around. I feel like you guys have forgotten there's like a glass sliding door between you two and the rest of the family, though. I think they can see you smooching out here. And then a swooping sound snatched your attention away from Derek. The sliding door had been opened. See? Hi, bros. The youngest son skipped in, as if invited, and the middle child followed after. Jorge was less cheeky, but equally unrepentant.
Hi, Derek. Hi, Molly. Hello. What's going on?
Derek flung his head back in a groan. He let go of you with all the begrudging frustration of a teen boy caught canoodling under the bleachers by the teacher. Not the canoodling.
Not again. Every damn time. There is no privacy anywhere, even in my own house.
Hey.
Nicholas handled the childish display with unearned airs of maturity. His poise was tall, and he cut an accusing finger through the air.
You're the one who invited us over. If you wanted to be alone with Molly, why did you throw a party with several other people?
That was a strong point. Worse still for Derek, Jorge had an even better one. Honestly confused by his big brother's reaction, he plainly stated a key consideration. Thank you, Jorge. You and me shared a brain cell there. Like, yeah, we've been watching you smooch out here, and it's very uncomfortable. So, we're just trying to save everybody.
This whole side of the apartment is glass. We could see everything happening without opening the door. Coming over feels more polite to me than watching from the inside.
At that, Derek snorted a laugh. He was less ashamed of what you were doing than Nicholas was for interrupting it.
I see how it is.
Fine. It made sense to get together one more time before she left, but I'm regretting being so reasonable now. One of these days, we might learn to be more self-centered, and then you'll be sorry.
Sorry.
I kinda doubt that. The part about you ever being selfish, not us being sorry over it. Yeah, sorry bro, that's not happening.
That's not alright. You could have at least knocked. No, I'm with Derek. Party's over. Everyone go home.
Now that sounds like a plan.
No.
Nicholas, like, no.
We're sorry, Derek and Molly.
But that couldn't be the end of it. Trouble came in threes. Your own sibling appeared from behind. She leaned against the doorway, leering at the scene. Romancing out in the open while all your siblings and parents were right there? I had no idea the two of you were so indulgent. One rotten apple spoiled the rest. Nicolas and Jorge had originally barged in with the pure intentions of being with you. Now they were snickering over Liz's jabs at your and Derek's expense. Sorry we couldn't babysit you the whole time, Liz.
Ooh.
We're just jabbing at each other. This is great. Of course this happened. Why expect anything else? That's what Derek's wryly lifted brows seemed to express.
You know, we were just talking about how self-absorbed I am, and how it's not enough in my opinion.
From even further in the house, Mr. Suarez waved a hand popped up over your sister's head.
It is okay. We're fine on our own. Enjoy your time together.
Your parents were bursting with laughter, ineffectively trying to model that staying quiet would have been less obtrusive than joining the situation. I like that Jorge looks the most scandalized out of all of us.
Really?
Oh. Dad.
Your trouble estimates were proven to be highly underestimated. It didn't come in 3. It came in as many amounts as physically possible. Mrs. Suarez came to get her husband, clearing a path through Liz, Jorge, and Nicolas.
Excuse me.
You're excused. She escorted him back to the couch without fuss, but no amount of cordialness on her end could smooth out this 3-ring circus. Derek barely saw the retreating forms of his abashed parents, or your mom's and Mr. Holden's giggling fit in the distance, or even the set of siblings watching and waiting for what would happen next. His arms were folded, and his brain was working. You and he had become the center of the universe, and that wouldn't do. In the end, Mr. Reliable himself went for his oldest, most reliable solution to awkward situations.
Hey, look over there!
What?
At what?
While the others were clearly distracted by Derek's fantastic ploy, said mastermind slid nearer to you and whispered intently.
Run.
Wonderful. You nodded imperceptibly to everyone but Derek, whose focus was set entirely on seeing that gesture. You both knew what had to be done. Your hand found his, and his yours, without tearing your eyes from the target, an escape route.
Out the front!
You dashed through the opening left by Mrs. Suarez, speeding by Liz before she could block the way again. The elders were shocked. The younger ones were shouting, but you didn't stop. Through the gap in the sliding glass door, past the couches and out the apartment's entrance, you and Derek ditched the whole party in a blink. I love it. Be irresponsible, you two. Together you flew down the stairs. There was no patience to wait for an elevator. Once on ground level, you exploded through the last set of doors in your path and onto the sidewalk, leaving laughter and joy in your wake. You may have escaped the building, but who knew they'd follow you out? That wasn't something you'd put past your siblings. The hand gripping yours still held tight. Derek encouraged you along, beaming wide. Adorable. Running hand in hand, 'cause of course.
Let's go!
Let's go! Friends, lovers, partners in crime, formally conditional fiancés. No matter the circumstances, you and Derek were always a team. And together, you were unstoppable. In Derek's bright eyes, you saw reflections of your past. That first day you met when he bounded up to you so unafraid. The time he'd much less bravely bolted from a very cross Elizabeth. Your grand exit from a different party, one you hadn't been invited to. And the moment you arrived in the Prism City bus station such a short and long time ago, when he'd come running for you. Each happy moment you experienced became only a memory of what used to be. But that's what life was, and it was okay. Right then you were running side by side. You wouldn't take it for granted, you wouldn't waste the chance. Instead, you would keep going for as long as your feet could carry you. As it should be, you and Derek took another step forward, and then another. Forward and forward and forward, down the glistening city street and towards the rest of your lives. Thank you for beginning a life here. Hey! You can come back again, always. And I will. I think I will. The end. Yay for Derek! Oh, that was a delight. My goodness. I'm sad now that it's over. I love Derek. I love his family so much. What a fun way to end all of that. But I'm not done with Derek yet, thankfully. I've got extra AU things to go and see. So, if any of you have any suggestions for what I should add to that list for that video or videos, please comment below. I've got some things in mind, like dating Derek earlier, being engaged, going to that work meeting instead of the water park. So yeah, anything that you guys can think of that you're like, yo, include this in the AU, I will definitely do. But for now, thank you guys for joining me for Derek's Fruit. That was the canonical Molly and Derek love story, and it was great. I loved everything about it. So until next time, I will see you later.